The Play-by-Play Student Sports Network. The best students of sports. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the final, non-summer crazy camp schedule show of the Play-by-Play Student Sports Network. It is For Your Thoughts. Tonight we have four of our best students. I would say almost an all-star squad here tonight, except for Isaac Edelman, but that's neither here nor there. Joining us tonight, obviously, like I said, is Isaac Edelman, Harris Syband, Brad Romano, and Alana. Alana trying to defend her crown. We haven't done For Your Thoughts in a while because we've done so many live broadcasts of the NFL draft and NBA playoffs. So it'll be nice to get back to one of our original formats. How's it going, everybody, today?
Good.
Going good, Zeke.
All right, very cool. Awesome. All right, guys. So I sent you the topics earlier, so y'all should be ready to go. And we have our first topic, our opening argument. What team has had the best offseason so far in the NFL? All right, let's start North Jersey, New York area with the two on the left-hand side of the screen here. Brad, let's go with you first. What team in the NFL do you think has had the best offseason so far?
In my opinion, the NFL team that has had the best offseason so far is the New York Giants. First off, let's start off with them extending Daniel Jones. They secured him for the next couple of years. And although the stats might not show it, he took a big jump and massively improved last season. I think he will again, only threw 5 picks, had little talent to throw to. As for the receiving core, they signed Paris Campbell and Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt was a steal in the third round. They also got Darren Waller, who, when healthy, one of the best receiving tight end threats in the league. John Michael Schmitz, they got on the O-line, best center in the draft, acquired in the second round, a Zoran fit type guy. On defense, Bobby Okereke on defense, they addressed the linebacker position. 3-down linebacker, great in pass defense. And they also addressed the corner position in the draft with Deonte Banks. Ton of speed, great length, and an aggressive physical playing style is what the Giants needed. I think overall the Giants were very good on getting positions that they needed to fill. Brian Daboll succeeded with the Giants with little talent in the receiving core. And now that they brought receiving talent in, I think they can only get better from here.
All right. I mean, you made some good points, Brad. You might have the third best offseason in your own division, and you might have the second best offseason in the New York area.
No.
But you made great points, and I can't debate with you. But let's go to Alana then real quick because I know. Are you going to go with your favorite team that happens to be in New York too? They had a good offseason getting Aaron Rodgers, obviously. But who do you think had the best team or the best offseason in the NFL so far? Whoop. Am I the only one that can't hear Alana?
No, I can't either.
Oh, it's definitely the Jets. Definitely the other teams for the best offseason.
Okay, we can hear you now. Yeah, we can hear you now. You're good, Alana. Go ahead.
All right. So with the Jets signing Aaron Rodgers, you got a future Hall of Fame quarterback. You are the top team of all the NFL offseason for the top signings. And besides that, you already had Offensive Rookie of the Year Garrett Wilson there. But then you signed Randall Cobb. You signed Mecole Hardman. You signed Allen Lazard. You have such a great wide receiver room. And then you have Nathaniel Hackett at offensive coordinator. And we saw what Aaron Rodgers was able to do in Green Bay when Hackett was the offensive coordinator. You know, there's so much hype with the Jets now with all this offense. You have Breece Hall coming back from the torn ACL. He's expected to be back week 1 with all these wonderful offensive moves. And you have what's supposed to be your top offensive line all back and healthy. The Jets are hopefully going to be a scary team to play against. You know, they have a lot of expectations going into the year, and hopefully they can live up to the hype with all these primetime games now. Everyone's going to be watching.
All right, yeah, I understand completely. So we have 2 homer picks so far, Harris. We know you're a fan of it with the jerseys that hang behind you. You can't honestly pick the Colts, I wouldn't think.
No.
But please tell me who you think, as a non-homer pick, is the top offseason so far in the NFL.
Well, I'd love to pick the Colts because I do think they've had one of the top off seasons in the NFL, but I'm not going to go with my favorite team. And we're going to go to Pennsylvania, go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. they were in the draft. They had two guys that were on their board. They wanted Broderick Jones, the offensive tackle, and they wanted Joey Porter Jr., the outside cornerback out of Penn State. Well, what they did was they drafted Broderick Jones in the middle of the first round and didn't expect Joey Porter to be there. With that 32nd pick, they got him. They got both of their guys in the first and second round, both who are top 15 players, arguably, in the NFL draft this year. They also got Patrick Pearson to go alongside Minkah Fitzpatrick in the secondary. And they got a veteran wide receiver in Allen Robinson to go in their wide receiver core alongside Deontay Johnson. So this team last year, they're in one of the best divisions in the NFL. They're in the AFC North. They're going against Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and they've got this young quarterback, Kenny Pickett, and a young team all around them. But what they did this year is bring in more young guys with top-tier talent to fight in their division, and that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, they're going to fight. They're in a tough division, just like the two previous teams. The Jets have a tough division with the Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills, and the Giants have a tough division with the Cowboys and the Eagles. Isaac, where are you going, bud? We know you're a Miami fan, but I'm not sure you could pick Miami. Who are you going with?
Zeke, I'd love to go with the Dolphins because of the Jalen Ramsey acquisition, but I can't. But I'm going to stay in the AFC East. And sorry, Alana, I'm not going to go with the Jets. I'm actually going to go with a surprising pick here in the New England Patriots. Let's talk about the Patriots for a second, a team that has struggled offensively these past few years. The Patriots are known for having a top defense, but maybe Mac Jones doesn't have the weapons he needs. So who do they get? They get tight end Mike Gesicki from the Dolphins, who I think with a quarterback like Mac Jones will really, really, really play well. We know how Hunter Henry has played with the Patriots, and he's no longer on the Patriots. So this Gesicki addition, and it's only a one-year deal, is huge. And then, of course, the Patriots get wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster, 3-year deal. Look, say what you want about Juju. He's a solid wide receiver. He's probably one of the best wide receivers the Patriots have had since Julian Edelman. Because, let's be honest, who have the Patriots had since then? You can't bring up Jacoby Myers. You can't really bring up Devontae Parker. He's washed. So that was another good acquisition. And then on defense, the Patriots do their job. They re-signed McMillan. They re-signed Mack Wilson. They re-signed Jonathan Jones, who had a heck of a year last year, Jabril Peppers, Jalen Mills, and Joe Cardona. So overall, the Patriots didn't sign the biggest names, but they signed some key pieces because, look, the Patriots had the coaching staff. They have the front office. They have a quarterback. They just need to supply Mac Jones with weapons, and I think they did just that.
So we got two AFC East teams. If they both got better, that division is going to be an absolute beast. So I have another question for you guys. We'll start with Alana with this one. There's obviously one free agent. Most are signed by now. There's not many that are going to affect this question, but there is one. His name's DeAndre Hopkins, just getting released by the Arizona Cardinals. Alana will go to you first, and then Brad. If there's a team out there that could all of a sudden change your mind and win this offseason by signing DeAndre Hopkins, who is that team that could either – if he came to the Jets, obviously, I think that would pad your pick. But who's the team that could sign him and maybe change your mind as it not being the Jets that won the offseason?
Well, this would be really interesting because I think the top team for him would be the Browns, and I think reuniting with Deshaun Watson would be the best pick for him personally to be the most successful. But I don't even think signing him would make the Browns the top NFL offseason team. I mean, maybe the Rams. If DeAndre Hopkins would sign with the Rams, that may completely change the game. You have Stafford coming off of the injury from last year. The Rams trying to get back into a top spot after definitely a letdown of a season. DeAndre Hopkins and the Rams, I don't know if they have the money for it, but I think that would definitely make them top NFL offseason.
All right, Brad, what about you? I mean, he's not coming to the Giants because they don't really have they don't have the space for him. But who do you think if DeAndre Hopkins showed up for the team would be like, all right, never mind. The Giants didn't have the top offseason. This team did.
The Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, like Mahomes and Hopkins would be crazy. The Chiefs' offense is already great with their top three receivers being Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and MVS. Granted, they have Travis Kelce, but the receiving core could be better. Imagine bringing in DeAndre Hopkins. Now Mahomes has DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce to throw to. I think it would be absolutely unstoppable with the Chiefs' offensive system and Andy Reid. I don't see how that wouldn't be one of the biggest free agency moves, if not the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, it would be huge just because their team is already so good. They've had a solid offseason, good draft. They did get a wide receiver in the draft, but that would put them over the top. All right, Isaac, we'll go to you next since you went last before. What team, if DeAndre Hopkins went there, would be a game changer? Be like, never mind, not the New England Patriots. This team won the offseason.
Yeah, no, Brad stole mine because I was absolutely going to say the Chiefs. The Chiefs, obviously, no more McCullough Hardman, no more Tyreek Hill, and, well, no more Juju. So what do they have? Well, they could have DeAndre Hopkins. So I agree with Brad's. I'm just going to give one more team that Hopkins could go to, and I'm still going to say the New England Patriots. Just because the Patriots got Juju Smith-Schuster doesn't mean they can't get anyone else. The Patriots don't have, like a lot of the teams, cap space struggles. I mean, they don't have really anyone big on contract. And if you think about it, well, Zeke, if we're talking football here, Mac Jones is going to look really good, better than he actually is with a player like DeAndre Hopkins. And by the way, there was a viral video on social media. I don't know when it was, but a few seasons ago, let's just say, Bill Belichick, before a game, went up to DeAndre Hopkins and was just saying how much respect he has for him. And Bill Belichick's not a talkative guy. He doesn't talk to many players before games. So I feel like they already had that connection. So I know you wanted me to go to a different team than the Patriots. So I wanted to go with the Chiefs for Brad Soler. I just had my mind on the Patriots. The Patriots had the cap space, and having Juju and DeAndre Hopkins would be amazing. And then you're going to have like Jacoby Myers as your wide receiver 3. Then you're talking good offensive football for the Patriots.
Yeah, then you have a division that has 4 very good teams in it. Harris, how about you, bud?
I don't want to do it. I'm going to be a homer here. It's not going to happen, but I think if the Indianapolis Colts went in and got DeAndre Hopkins, it would be a game-changing offseason. I mean, let's be real here. 2 years ago, the Indianapolis Colts were this close to making the NFL playoffs. By week 14, they were being called the second-best team in the AFC, and then they lose the last few games of the season. But what's changed since then? Nothing really. They got a downgrade at quarterback, but now we got the most freakishly athletic quarterback that we've seen in the NFL draft since Cam Newton. Add in DeAndre Hopkins. We're talking about one of the most athletic receivers in the NFL being thrown to by the most athletic quarterback in the NFL. Alongside we're talking about a team with 3 NFL superstars: Jonathan Taylor, Darius Leonard, Quentin Nelson. Those are 3 guys that are top 3 at their position around the entire NFL. So the Indianapolis Colts roster is there. Is the coaching there? We'll see this season. But if you get DeAndre Hopkins, we're talking about maybe by midseason, one of the best passing games in the NFL. Because at worst, let's say Anthony Richardson isn't a great passer in the NFL. The accuracy is like how he was in college. They've got one of the best running attacks in the NFL. Who's going to stop the 6'4", 240-pound quarterback going alongside a top 3 running back in the NFL? Nothing. And if they can't stop that, then they go to the wide receiver game. And if they got DeAndre Hopkins, the Indianapolis Colts, in my opinion, would be a playoff team this year.
They'd have a chance to go up against those Jaguars in Jacksonville, who have a real shot at being a very good team for a while now. All right, guys, all good opinions. Fantastic points that you guys made, but it is time for our head-to-head round, our second topic of the day. This is the round where we go one-on-one. We are going to have Brad and Harris first, and then we'll go to Alana and Isaac after that. So head-to-head topic today is I didn't mean to be there. I don't need to be here. Head-to-head topic is, who do you guys think, or what city do you guys think has had the best start to the 2020 decade? Brad, you can go first. Sorry about that.
Okay, so you're good. I'm gonna say Los Angeles. I think Los Angeles has had very big success in the 3 years of the 2020s. So we'll start off with basketball. Go with Los Angeles Lakers. Obviously, they started off great, winning in the playoffs, pretty much destroying the competition outside of the Miami Heat. Had a great playoff run. Then, the season after, they were okay, and this season they made the Western Conference Finals. And then the Los Angeles Clippers, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Obviously, they haven't made the finals, but, injuries could be a thing in that. But they've been having decent success in the playoffs. We move on to baseball. The Los Angeles Dodgers also winning the championship in 2020 and then making the playoffs in 2021 and 2022 with great records. And then we move on to football. The Los Angeles Rams in 2022 winning the championship, having an amazing season all around. Cooper Kupp with his Triple Crown victory. And then, Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald having amazing seasons. Hockey, the Los Angeles Kings, I believe, recently just made the playoffs in 2023. There's been a couple of championships in Los Angeles and lots of playoff success. So in my opinion, LA has had the best success.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about LA, honestly, when I made up this topic of conversation. Because I think if we looked at the last 2 decades, Boston's kind of dominated when it comes to a sports city. But 2020, I didn't know, but that is a good point. All right, Harris, what area or city do you have as the city that's started the 2020s the best?
Oh, when you talk about since the 2020s, I think LA would have been the obvious choice. They've won 2 championships. It's the biggest market city in the entire United States. But But they haven't really changed the culture. What has Los Angeles done to change the culture in their city? Well, that's what Miami has done. They've changed the entire culture of their city around sports. The Miami Heat, the roster has not been the best over the last few seasons. Let's be real. But there's been one guy in Miami that's completely changed the culture of the entire city, and that's Jimmy Butler. In 2020, they made the NBA Finals. They lost, okay? In 2022, they made the Eastern Conference Finals. They lost. This year, they had a ton of undrafted free agents, a ton of second-round guys, but they got one guy, an eight seed team that led his team all the way to the NBA Finals, and that's Jimmy Butler. And here they are, they're down 1-0. But sure, they are probably going to lose in the NBA Finals, let's be real. But the culture, the 8 seed going all the way, the underdog story, going to the NBA Finals, the Heat have been arguably the most successful team in the NBA since 2020. They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times, in the NBA Finals twice, and that's not even it for Miami. Since 2020, the Miami Dolphins have drafted their franchise quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa. They've gotten a new, young, that was the wrong word for it, but a new, young, exciting coach in Mike McDaniel, who's taken the league by storm. Sure, it really came to an end this year when Tua went down and then Teddy Bridgewater went down, but they've built the future. They signed arguably the best cornerback in the NFL since 2020 in Jalen Ramsey, and now the Miami Dolphins have this bright future. But one thing that a lot of other cities in the United States aren't doing that Miami has done is they brought in a Miami Grand Prix in 2021, which is one of the most highly attended Formula One Grand Prix in the world, let alone one of the most attended sports events in the entire country per season. They've done it twice, won by the same guy 2 times, but it changes the culture of your city. If you were to watch the Miami Grand Prix that weekend, that entire year, celebrities, everybody, the richest people in America come down to Miami just to watch this event. It's an event that goes through the entire city, and that's why Miami has been the best city since 2020.
All right, Brad, I'll let you come back at him a little bit. What do you have to say about Miami?
Miami has had a really good success this season specifically, but I think, like you said, if we're talking just all the way from 2020 to 2023, I don't see why LA wouldn't be the best. I mean, Miami Heat really haven't won a championship. Dolphins haven't really had huge success since last season. Meanwhile, for Los Angeles, consistently all of the sports teams have been very solid. The Rams, I know, had an off year this year. Besides that, all the LA teams have been consistently making the playoffs. You know, granted, the only times they've won the championship was in the 2020s, the first year of the 2020s, but I think because LA has those championships, they've been consistent throughout the 2020s. I think it beats Miami, which I think Miami's only been recently around this year and last year.
All right, Harris, let's go back to you real quick. Defend your Miami or go after Los Angeles, whatever you'd like to do, sir. You're muted.
Well, you talk about consistency, and since 2020, Los Angeles has not been consistent in any way, pretty much. Let's be real here. Sure, they won championships in 2020. Since 2020, the Lakers, they've been subpar. Sure, they made the Western Conference Finals this year. They were the 6th seed in the playoffs, okay? They weren't really that good. For a team with the greatest basketball player of all time, let's be real. That was not the greatest regular season team that we've seen for the Lakers that we should have seen. The Los Angeles Clippers, they bring in NBA All-Stars. Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, nothing but mediocre. The players can't stay on the court. They've done literally nothing. A team that arguably has one of the best rosters in the NBA cannot do absolutely anything in the playoff. The Los Angeles Rams, they won they won their Super Bowl, okay? Congratulations to Los Angeles. You move to Los Angeles, this big market city, and you win your championship. Well, what's next? Absolutely nothing. Your quarterback should already have retired. Last year, Matthew Stafford, he's got a career-threatening injury. And to the next few seasons, I don't think he lasts more than, let's say, 24 more months in the NFL. And after that, what do the Rams have for them? Absolutely nothing. That roster is atrocious besides him and Cooper Kupp. That team is a bottom 5 roster in the NFL. They're winning no more than 6 games in this upcoming season. So when we're going to talk about teams that are going to be the best from 2020 on, or the teams that have been the best in the 2020s, the city of Los Angeles hasn't been good whatsoever, really, since 2020. Sure, you can argue the Lakers, but I mean,
right.
That's what happened. But yeah.
All right, sounds good, Harris. Both good arguments, great points from both of you. All right, so let's take them off and let's bring on Isaac and Alana. Let me get out of there so they can go up top. There we go. All right, Isaac, I think I'm going to let you expound. Is that the right word I'm looking for? On what Harris was saying, because I think you might be a little bit of a homer pick on this one. You didn't have a homer pick in the last round, but you might on this one. Isaac, what city or area do you think has had the best start to the 2020 decade?
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to steal Harris's show, but I think he was stealing my show. He's an Indianapolis guy. I'm the South Florida guy, so let me speak. Now, I do want to give Harris credit. I did not think of the F1 race in Miami. That's amazing. So before I bring up the sports we know that are incredible in Florida, the Dolphins started off 2020 because their stadium hosted the Super Bowl, Chiefs and 49ers. So Miami was already off to a great start. And then the Marlins made the playoffs. That was the most surprising thing in 2020. But then you get into the heart of it. The Heat make the NBA Finals. They do lose to the Lakers, but to make the finals in the bubble, that was incredible. And then the Dolphins, right? Harris said they got to the Dolphins made the playoffs last year. They lost to the Bills, but making the playoffs is a huge step in the direction because we've seen little success from the Dolphins. The Panthers, they won the President's Cup last year. They had the most wins in the regular season in the NHL. In the playoffs, they were so disappointing for basically the best team in the NHL. How do you lose in the first round? It's okay because the Panthers didn't just not lose in the first round this year, but they were headed to the Stanley Cup, where on Sunday night they will face the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's talk about college basketball. FAU and Miami. How good have they been? I mean, FAU hasn't been good since the 2020s, but since 2023 they've been good. FAU, Final Four bound. Miami Hurricanes, Final Four bound. So can't get better than South Florida, specifically Miami. What a region. You can't even argue. If you were arguing, you're arguing against a wall, because talk about the Miami sports teams or the city of Miami. That's where sports are at, and it's truly incredible.
Sorry about that. All right, Alana, please argue against this wall that is Isaac Edelman. What area or city do you have as that's had the best start since the 2020s?
I'm going to go with the in-state rival with Tampa Bay. You know, you get 3 straight Stanley Cup appearances, 2 straight Stanley Cup wins. You have the Tampa Bay Rays, who have been consistently good every single year. You have the Buccaneers, who won the Super Bowl in 2021. You don't even need a basketball team to be that consistent with all that success. Now, while the Buccaneers may have lost Tom Brady this offseason, they definitely have a bright path. And with the Tampa Bay Rays, with their insane start to the start of this season and having the top record in baseball right now, it's basically a guarantee they're going to be in the playoffs. Tampa Bay may have gotten knocked out in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, but they were able to make it. That's 4 straight years you're in the Stanley Cup playoffs. When we can't forget, you have the Tampa Bay Lightning, 3 straight Stanley Cup appearances with 2 straight wins. Andrei Vasilevsky is still one of the top goalies in all of the NHL right now. You can't forget about him. Maybe he wasn't in the playoffs as long as they expected to be when they played the Toronto Maple Leafs, but they are still so consistent. And like I said, you don't need a basketball team. Yeah, Miami has the Heat. LA has the Lakers. Tampa Bay has been able to bring in all of the sports, like all of them, and been successful.
All right, Isaac. So she says you're not the best of the 2020s in just the whole country, not even your own state. What do you have to say to that, Isaac?
Well, at least she's staying in the state of Florida. That's a good thing. But look, I'm gonna give Alana a lot of credit on this one, because Tampa Bay would be my second best region, but you just can't beat South Florida. Go a little bit more south. And yes, the Buccaneers didn't just host a Super Bowl like the Dolphins did, but they were in it. The Dolphins weren't. Okay. I think having no basketball team is huge. You didn't host an F1 race. So the Lightning, look, the Panthers had more regular season wins last year. I know the Lightning made it further in the playoffs, but in terms of, having success, that is success. I know the playoffs were valued higher than the regular season, but that's important. This year, I mean, the Panthers have made it way further than the Lightning. Lightning, first round exits, Panthers, Stanley Cup. And then, of course, football. The Dolphins were better than the Buccaneers last year. And I know we're talking about the start of the 2020s, but the last few years of the 2020s, I'm talking 2025 through 2030, the Buccaneers do not have a bright future. Jameis Winston's gone. Tom Brady is gone. Mike Evans is getting older. Chris Godwin's getting older. Andrei Vasilevsky's getting older. Stamkos is getting older. Kucherov's getting older. The Rays are staying young. I'll give them that. But unless you guys get a basketball team, I don't know about the Tampa area.
The Rays always stay young because they never sign anybody. They just trade everybody away, but they're always good. I don't understand it, Alana.
Yeah.
I'd either defend Tampa Bay or go after his South Florida picks, Alana.
Well, Tampa doesn't have an F1 race, and I'm going to be honest, I don't think I've ever even watched an F1 race. It can't be that much special.
Oh, you're breaking Harris's heart right now, but go ahead.
But what the Tampa Bay Lightning did. You have 2 straight Stanley Cup finals in one of the most difficult years ever. Okay, maybe the Panthers are in the Stanley Cup this year, but when was the last time they won a cup? When was the last time they won 2 cups in a row without making 3 straight Stanley Cup final appearances? And the Tampa Bay Rays have one of the lowest payrolls in all of baseball. And they're still consistent every single year making the playoffs. Bringing in these guys who at the start of the year, we have no idea who they are, and they become some of the top stars in all of baseball. I know at the beginning of the year we were kind of looking down on them. Oh, maybe this is the Yankees' year. Oh, maybe this is the Blue Jays' year. But again and again, the Tampa Bay Rays just exceed all of our expectations. Like, we don't have any expectations for the Marlins. In the NL East, come on, you really know the Marlins don't have any expectations on them. But the Tampa Bay Rays are the best team in baseball. You can't deny it. The Marlins are not the top team in baseball right now. And we're talking about the start of the 2020s. The Marlins, I don't know if they're going to be able. They've been trying for the past couple of years to get consistent with their young guys. Tampa Bay is able to do it, and they just have the highest value for the next couple of years in the 2020s.
All right, guys. Fantastic takes. Let's bring all 4 of you back. Just real quick. I want to do this real quick before we get to the next topic. Who do we think is the best city that maybe is set up for the future? Y'all kind of touched on it as you went around. If it's a different city or the same city, Brad, what city do you think is the best setup for the 2020s?
If we're talking about future, then I think Miami's a big one. I think that the Dolphins have a young team. The Panthers are doing great right now. The Marlins have a lot of young talent. If we're talking like the future, yes, like Harris and Isaac said, Miami.
All right, Alon, do you have another city besides Tampa? Because like Isaac said, Tampa's kind of, besides the Rays have a bright future. The Bucks are going to be terrible for a while, I think. Do you have another city that you think might have a bright future?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Vegas. They've been bringing in all the teams in the last couple of years. I think that they're going to be getting a baseball team. You have a hockey team that has been amazing in all the years of their existence, and I think they're only going to get better. And you have the Raiders, who they may be in a tough division, but I think they're going to be able to work it out this year. Las Vegas, who knows? Maybe they'll even have a basketball team coming in.
I've seen rumors online that LeBron James might wind up owning a Las Vegas basketball team, so you might be right.
Yeah, so I think the brightest future in any sport right now, it's got to be Vegas.
Isaac, do you have anybody, or are you going to stick with South Florida?
I'm going to stick with South Florida. The Panthers have a young team, and I think their next goalie is going to be Spencer Knight. He should be really good. The Marlins, actually, if the season ended today, they'd make the playoffs, and it's not like we just started. We're a good chunk of the way through the season. Good farm system, too. The Dolphins, very young coach, young quarterback, should be fine. The Heat,
depending on Tua's health, I would say.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Tua, so I think Zeke's trying to suck me into that. That's why. Anyway, I don't know about the Heat. The Heat is a very good question. As Pat Riley's getting older, so who knows how much longer he'll be in his job. But as long as Pat Riley is an active chunk of this Heat team, the Heat should be fine. I don't care who's old. I don't care how many good players, how much cap space we have, blah, blah, blah. The Heat always replenish talent because they have the best scouts. They know who to get. Doesn't matter how big their name is, how popular they are. The Heat always know how to stay relevant in a good way because some teams are constantly brought up like the Lakers, but the Lakers sometimes have a lot of issues. The Heat never have issues. They seem to always be fine. So,
all right, sounds good. Harris, do you agree? And I mean, Lana said Vegas, they have an F1 race.
Vegas does have an F1 race, but it hasn't necessarily happened yet. We don't really know exactly what's going to happen with the Las Vegas Grand Prix. The ticket sales are way too high than what they should be. So the Miami, the Pacific Miami from this time and forward, I mean, I think Tua Tagovailoa, he thinks he's going to be healthy for the rest of his career, or at least for most of it, which makes me believe I am a Tua stan, makes me believe in the Miami Dolphins and their future. As long as Jimmy Butler's in Miami, I mean, that team's going to be in the playoffs arguably every single season. Maybe, they could win an NBA Finals in the next 3 weeks. We don't know, but it is very possible. And the Miami Grand Prix is going to be the most culturalized Formula One Grand Prix in the world for the next few seasons in the foreseeable future, as it already is right now. And I mean,
And the same guy will win it every year. It's going to be boring. You can predict it. We all know.
Yeah, I
who's gonna
mean,
win
you know,
first.
I don't know how boring that's going to be. You know, that same guy's about to be a 3-time world champion. But yes, I agree. I think Miami is going to be the
Like I
best
said,
for the next few years.
F1, you know who's going to win every race because his name is Max Verstappen. So it's a boring sport until they actually have some parity. But we'll see what happens. All right. I just like busting on Harris a little bit about F1. All right. Last normal topic. Good or bad? Are playoffs a good way to determine a champion? We just saw Man City win the championship in the Premier League. And we've also seen this postseason that if you have a great regular season, if you have the greatest regular season of all time in American sports and hockey, it doesn't matter. So you play 82 games in hockey. You play 162 games in baseball and have 300-game winners last year in the National League. And none of them, even as a Phillies fan, I think it's ridiculous that the Phillies got to the World Series over 3 teams that won 100 games last year. So are playoffs really a good way when you have that long of a regular season? Especially I'm talking about basketball, baseball, and hockey here. Football, not so much because 16 games I don't think is long enough regular season anyways, so playoffs make sense. But in the other sports, is playoffs really a good way to end the season? Let's start with Harris on this one.
You see, Zeke, when I first saw the message you sent me this morning, and I saw what this was a question, I kind of thought to myself, like, what kind of question is this? Because I think it's a pretty obvious answer. I think the playoffs are the best thing in all of sports. I mean, I know you might be debating it as a Philly fan because, you know, you got the MVP on your team who can't win anything after the first round or win anything in general in the playoffs. I mean,
Oh no, I
come
don't
on
care
now.
about them.
That's, I mean,
Preach.
that's the NBA MVP, and you make it to the playoffs, and
Yep.
you can't do absolutely anything. And, you know, in the NBA, there's players that are incredible in the regular season, and you get to the playoffs, they do absolutely nothing. Joel Embiid. And then there's players that, you know, might go under the radar in the regular season and go absolutely incredible in the postseason. Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, bring their teams to the playoffs and then make it through the playoffs. In the NFL, I mean, it's not really the same thing. I agree with what you said, but I'm going to kind of keep this in the basketball perspective is March Madness is the greatest sporting event in all of sports. I know Isaac can agree with me on that one, I'm hoping, as he got to attend a lot of the games this year. But, I mean, when do you see teams like Farley Dickinson University go against, you know, as you said, Zeke, teams that have these great regular seasons like Purdue and Zach Edey, but lose? I mean, they just hit them with a hashtag LOL and just beat them in the first round of the March Madness tournament. And then teams like Miami, who had players like Jordan Miller and Isaiah Wong, who were ACC top players, but, you know, their team wasn't necessarily a top 5 team in college basketball, and they made it all the way. And I'm an Alabama fan, and we were the best team in the country for, you know, almost half the season last year. But then we lose to not even get to San Diego State. I don't even want to talk about it. But still, I mean, you have to be good in the playoffs of your sport. Like these teams that go to the college football final or the college football playoff, not all of them are, you know, playoff teams. Oklahoma, they've never won in the first round of the college football playoff, and they've been there multiple times. So, and Georgia for 40 years couldn't win in the postseason of their of college football. So, in the end, the playoffs are the pinnacle of sports. They need to be there.
All right, I can understand that, and like I'm not debating the playoffs aren't exciting. They are absolutely exciting. Isaac, let's go to you next. But like, are they really a good way to name a champion after playing so many games to see who the best team is for 100 games, 80 games?
They are. You have to shine when the lights are the brightest, and you have to shine when there's a sold-out crowd, when the pressure is the highest, when the adrenaline is really, really, really high. And you can ask Jimmy Butler. He doesn't try the most in the regular season, which could be a bad thing because, you know, you should be trying. But he really steps it up in the playoffs because he knows that the playoffs are the real deal. And that is how you decide the real champion. Because if the NBA playoffs weren't that big of a deal and they didn't really decide that much, Butler wouldn't be playing this well. And let me just get out of my South Florida sports realm here. Yeah, good point, Harris, about March Madness. You just do not need to focus on the regular season. The regular season is important to play well, entertain fans, increase ticket sales, increase merchandise sales, but also to determine seedings. And why would you determine who's the number 1 seed, who's the 8 seed? Well, for the playoffs. And seedings do matter because the playoffs are a good way to determine a champion. Obviously, NHL, NBA playoffs, very similar. MLB playoffs, bit different. Well, that's because it's baseball. And NFL, yeah, I mean, there's not many games in the regular season. But look, there's a championship for a reason. The national title game, the Super Bowl, the World Series, the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup. Those games, how you decide a champion. I just don't see how there could be an alternate for that. You could change rules, but you need the playoffs.
All right. Well, the Premier League would probably argue with you because they have never had it and never will have it. But Alana, all right, let's go to you because I'm not sure you're going to agree with me. I might be the only person that thinks sometimes playoffs are ridiculous. But out of all the people that are here, I think you have the best chance because one, you're a Mets fan who won 100 some games last year, along with the Dodgers and the Braves, and you're the biggest hockey fan in the business. And you watch a team set the record for the greatest regular season ever in the history of hockey, and then lose to Isaac's Florida Panthers. So, do you think playoffs are actually a good way to determine a champion?
I do. I think that you're playing in the regular season for the playoffs. Like, what are you going to be playing for if there are no playoffs? And a lot of the regular season, you're playing against some, I guess you could say mediocre teams. The teams you're playing in the regular season aren't the top skilled teams. Like, I'm just thinking the NHL. You have the Bruins who, as you said before, had best record in NHL history. But you have to be able to beat the skilled teams. If you're playing the Columbus Blue Jackets, the San Jose Sharks, that's not really testing your ability to be able to play these top teams. So without the regular season, we wouldn't be able to see the true talent like we do, like Connor McDavid. If there were no playoffs, I mean, what would he be? Like, it's just crazy to think that without playoffs, we wouldn't have the same sports experience that we have. We love sports so much because of the crazy things that go on during the playoffs. The March Madness upsets. On hockey, the upsets. You have the Bruins. I just can't get over the Bruins still. Even weeks later, the Bruins losing is so crazy. But when people say, oh, maybe the seeding's not fair, by seeing these upsets, if you have a 8 seed beating a 1, like, it's a different feeling than anything else. Like, we don't get those same feelings during the regular season, and I think being able to test your ability in the postseason, it's just the biggest task of all, which is why it's so difficult to be able to win a championship.
All right, Brad, let's go to you. I think you're going to make it unanimous for some reason. But then I have one quick question for y'all after this. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, I mean, I think the playoffs are obviously one of the biggest things happening in sports. You know, you have sometimes on NBA playoffs specifically, you have sometimes these 1 seeds come into the playoffs, they get knocked off immediately. The Utah Jazz, not in the first round, but the second round, showed that they were frauds. The Bucks, granted, Giannis was hurt, but they lost to the Miami Heat. You know, sure, these teams in the regular season can do really good, but they have to play very high in the playoffs. The atmosphere is different. The energy is different. Sure, you had the best record in the regular season, but could you keep that same energy in the playoffs? And especially, like, March Madness, the NBA playoffs, especially the NHL playoffs, very underappreciated. Just all have a great vibe. The atmosphere is amazing. You know, you're playing for a championship, and I think upsets are great to see. You know, it's just cool to see one of the best teams in the league. Everyone thinks they're going to win it all, and then in reality, they got knocked out early. I think it's cool to see upsets. And yeah, like I said, atmosphere is great. The energy is great. I think playoffs are much needed for every single sport.
Yeah, I think playoffs, like you said, I agree with y'all. It's really exciting. Completely agree with that statement that y'all made. It's just crazy when the team that has the best record in the history of sport has no chance of winning a championship because they lost to a team that got hot at the right time. But neither here nor there. Real quick, I want one sentence from everybody here because there is one sport that is the biggest sport in the whole entire world that doesn't use playoffs, and that is European soccer. Premier League, La Liga in Spain, the Italian League, Serie A, the French League, Ligue 1, all of them. Whoever's the best team all year long, whoever has the best record, they're the champion at the end of the year. Please tell the European, give me one sentence from each of it, why the European people are doing it wrong and that they need to introduce playoffs in their sports. We'll go back to Isaac real quick.
I'll just say one sentence. There's a reason a lot of people do not watch soccer. Thank you.
Harris, you got a sentence for me to tell the European people that why they're soccer? Or hey, F1 does not have playoffs, right? So would you want Max Verstappen to have a playoff crash in the first round of the playoffs and not win the championship? So if anybody can understand it, you might be able to understand that.
No, I can't. How are you going to have playoffs in motorsports?
You have the best 8 drivers, and then every race, 2 racers get eliminated. Max Verstappen crashes in the first race, doesn't win a championship.
Okay, he loses. End of story. When is that going to happen? Never. I think
Never. So tell the F1 or European soccer why they're doing it wrong.
Well, the European soccer fans can move to America and watch American playoffs or go and watch the FIFA World Cup.
Okay, I understand. I mean, they obviously love the Champions League as well. Alana?
You haven't felt true sports excitement if you haven't seen the playoffs.
All right, what do you say, Brad?
Playoffs equals more viewers and more money.
All right, so Brad is saying, hey, Europeans, you're not capitalist enough. That's what Brad's going with. Sounds good. All right, so our last topic of the evening before our final thoughts, which I forgot to tell you all to do final thoughts, so I hope you all remember it. If not, you can come up with one off the top of your heads. I believe in you. Quick question today. What is the best sports movie or TV show? With Ted Lasso having its last episode this past week, this was on the top of my mind, so I want to talk to a younger generation. I know my generation, some things they'd pick. What do y'all think is the best TV show or movie that's ever been based around a sport? Who hasn't went first yet? Brad went first. Alana went first. Harris, you haven't went first yet, have you? Let's go with you.
All right, so I thought about this earlier. Everyone loved, a teardropper in The Blind Side. Great movie. Another movie I thought of that, came to mind. It's new to the party. Air, the new Michael Jordan movie. Best movie I've ever watched in theater. But when you talk about sports movies, I want to talk about, or shows here, a show that brings audience to the sport. And that's going to be Formula One's Drive to Survive. It is one of the most watched series on Netflix. It has raised the growth in the United States of over 25% in Formula One viewers. Name another show or movie that's done that. You can't name one because there isn't one. Formula One Drive to Survive documents the entire season of Formula One, from the race winners to the drama that goes on behind the scenes. There's not another show that does it. Sure, you can go watch All American and watch Spencer James for the 5th season in a row, but no, you're not going to. You're going to come watch Formula One Drive to Survive, and you're going to see all 20 drivers on all 20 Formula One on all 24 tracks in every different country that you're going to see it in, from Las Vegas to Bahrain to Abu Dhabi. You're going to see every single piece of it, and you're going to see everything that goes on behind the scenes, and you're going to go after that and go and watch the Formula One races, because The Blind Side or Air isn't going to go make you watch basketball or American football, because as Alana said, she's never watched a Formula One race. Well, for your information, Lana, Formula One, according to Nielsen, which is the leader in global sports audience, ranks Formula One as, drumroll please, the second most popular sport in the world by league. So while you're sitting here, you're in the other, bottom percentile that's ever watched a Formula One race, because it's the second most popular sport in the world according to the leader in sports audience.
And it's like the 30th most popular in
so
America.
Here we are, Formula One Drive to Survive. Please go and watch it, because it'll change your opinion on anything in motorsports.
Is he getting paid to promote F1?
Yeah, that's pretty much what Harris does. I mean, I respect their skill. I do, incredibly so.
I respect the loyalty to F1. So,
I respect how good they are at what they do. And Max Verstappen's obviously the best. But it's when you know who's going to win the championship in pretty much every race before that starts. I don't know how it's exciting, but Harris loves it, and that's all that matters. All right, Isaac, what movie or TV show do you think is the best sports TV show or movie?
I'm gonna go with Sandlot. I speak to friends, that are not big sport fans, and they have still watched it. That just tells me a lot, that you may not be a sports fan, but everyone has seen The Sandlot. And it doesn't necessarily get people into baseball, but it is a sports movie, and it's really good. Obviously, it doesn't tell you a lot about the history of baseball, but it is a sports movie. And really the only reason this is the answer is because, number one, it is very entertaining. So it is a very good movie. And it is the best movie because so many people have watched it. And if it's touching people that don't watch sports, that may not like baseball, that tells me that it must be a really good movie.
I mean, I have 17 pairs of PF Flyers at this point in my life, so I'm going to agree with you, Isaac, because that is my generation's movie. Alana, what about you?
I'm going to go with a movie that does teach people about the history of baseball with A League of Their Own. It's one of my favorite movies. It's just truly inspiring to see what these women were able to do during such difficult times. They were able to go out there and play baseball, and people went and watched them. And in an era right now where we're seeing more people trying to watch women's sports, to try and represent women's sports, the WNBA and the NWSL really having record-breaking seasons. A League of Their Own shows where it all started for women's sports and how, in like I said, in such a difficult time, how these women were able to overcome their challenges and go out on the field and play a game that everyone loves.
I agree. That's one of my favorite baseball movies. We're not going to talk about the show because it wasn't nearly as good as the movie. But the movie was amazing and incredible. I could watch it 1,000 times over. And heck, I'm okay with crying in baseball. It's fine. Brad, what do you feel like, bud?
Well, I was going to say Moneyball. I was going to say Air that I just saw in theaters. But I think the best sports movie of all time is a classic, Rocky. Just the first Rocky. You know, you have this guy, Rocky Balboa, just living in Philly, you know, working for the mafia, just broke, trying to get as much money as he can. And then all of a sudden, this really good boxer named Apollo Creed issues an open challenge to anyone out there. And what do you know? This random guy from Philly, Rocky Balboa, accepts it, comes into this fight, probably the biggest underdog of all time, and almost beats him. It was a unanimous decision that Apollo Creed won. But, you know, it's more than just that. The love story with Adrian was amazing, too. But, you know, I mean, the Rocky movies got progressively worse and worse and worse as time passed. There should have never been a Rocky 5 or 6. But the first ever Rocky movie, it was just a classic and an amazing film in general.
I mean, it did win the Best Picture for a reason. It's an amazing movie. I completely agree with you. Rocky 5, yeah, that's terrible. Rocky 6, Rocky Balboa, not too bad. It
just shouldn't have continued after 4, in my opinion.
Well, have you seen the Creed movies? They're not bad either.
Creed's great.
Yeah, okay. Sounds great. So they're pretty much Rocky 7, 8, 9. All right. Fantastic. Great options, guys. Something I didn't think you were going to say because they're kind of throwbacks. Brad with Rocky, Isaac with The Sandlot, and Alana with A League of Their Own. All fantastic choices. Harris, we know your opinions, but it's all good. F1 is the greatest sport in the world. Like I said, respect them completely and totally, but I try to get into it. I can't when the same person wins. They're clapping at the end. There shouldn't be clapping. So it's time for your final thoughts. I want to know, you guys can have a rant or a hot take that you have about what's going on in the world of sports today. I honestly completely forgot to tell you guys to do one, but if you know the show and you've been on the show before, you should know that. So the only one that might have some issues here as well, Isaac. So we'll see how it goes. So we'll let Isaac think a little bit because he has
you can let me go first, actually.
I can. Oh, you want to go first? All right, sounds good, Isaac. You can have your final thought first. Go ahead, bud.
I didn't need much time to think about this, as Zeke just told you guys. But we will have a duo winning a championship in less than 3 weeks. I think the Miami Heat and Florida Panthers will both win their championships. There will be a South Florida excitement. And maybe we will have a joint parade. That would be something. That's never been done before. But even though the Heat are down 1-0 to the Denver Nuggets, do not doubt Jimmy Buckets. Do not doubt Matthew Tkachuk of the Panthers. The Panthers are here for a reason. The Heat are here for a reason. 2 South Florida teams going to win it all. Also, both as 8 seeds. I don't need any further explanation. The explanation has been why they've made it this far. The regular season, being an 8 seed, and winning round 1, winning round 2, winning the Eastern Conference Championship, and now being in the championship.
Sounds great. A dual parade would be absolutely insane and awesome. All right, Alana, how about you? What's your final thought?
All right, so we're all talking about the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup playoffs, but what about softball? We're currently having the Women's College World Series that is going on right now, and honestly, we have seen one of the best college softball seasons ever, I would say. You have some insane teams. You have Oklahoma State, you have LSU, just Alabama also. These teams are just so good, and the talent that they have, more people should be watching and caring about it. And I just want to say, yesterday, well, everyone might have been watching the NBA Finals. Women's softball was on ESPN. I don't know how many of you were watching that, but there were some great games. We haven't seen any upsets yet, but I believe we're going to see some great ones, so make sure to tune in.
I mean, they're more fundamentally sound than the Phillies in the field, that's for sure. But it is a joy to watch, and they're doing it just for the passion because you know they're not getting big money to play, and they do a great job of it. All right, Brad, and then we'll go to Harris, who is probably going to talk about F1. Go ahead, Brad.
All right, so obviously the Boston Celtics is a bit of a question right now. There's a lot of Jaylen Brown trade rumors that he's going to get traded. I do think he will get traded. And the team that I think that Jaylen Brown is going to get traded to is the Atlanta Hawks. I think Jaylen Brown on the Atlanta Hawks would be great. I think the Hawks could trade like DeAndre Hunter, Okongwu, AJ Griffin, and maybe like a first-round pick. But I think the Hawks, with Trae Young and Jaylen Brown, adding Jaylen Brown to that Hawks team would make them great. You know, Jaylen Brown, a great defensive player. The Hawks lack a lot of defense. I think if you just add Jaylen Brown to that Hawks team, they're going to be great. And I think he will go to Atlanta.
Hey, that would be a heck of a trade. I mean, we had someone on the Instagram Live the other day saying that the Boston Celtics were going to extend them. So differing opinions. We'll see what happens. All right, Harris. I know we've been busting on you a little bit about F1, but that's what we do best here. All right, go ahead, Harris. What is your final thought, bud?
Window Zeke, call me Aaron Judge because my last final thought I did about 2 months ago, I knocked that one out of the park when I crowned Brandon Miller as number 2 overall pick in the NBA draft. And the current favorite to go number 2 overall in the NBA draft is Brandon Miller. And my current final thought is not going to be Formula One. I'm going to be a homer here, and we're going to talk about the NFL Rookie of the Year in 2023-4. We're going to say Anthony Richardson is going to be the Rookie of the Year as long as he plays on day one. Because when you're looking at this on paper, at his floor, which I agree is going to be low, he's going to be the 3rd best rushing quarterback in the NFL. He's going to rush for, 700-800 yards in his rookie year. There's not another guy that's going to do that, okay? And at his floor, he's going to throw, let's say, 15 touchdowns. Are you really going to tell me that Bryce Young is going to go throw 15 touchdowns and go run for 1,000 yards? No, he's not going to do it. Is C.J. Stroud going to lead the Houston Texans into the promised land? Absolutely not. And is Bijan Robinson going to take this leap role in the Atlanta Falcons offense? No, because the Falcons stink, okay? The Indianapolis Colts are going to have a year, and they are being underlooked like crazy. It's getting on my nerves. 2 years ago, they had 5 Pro Bowlers. The Indianapolis Colts team is going to the playoffs. Anthony Richardson is going to be your 2023-2024 NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year.
That'd be pretty awesome for the Colts. I'm rooting for him. Has a great personality. That story about him picking up the trash at the rookie symposium was amazing. What an awesome dude. I'm rooting for him. But if Cordell Patterson can go off for the Falcons 2 years ago, I'd be a little bit of afraid of
the way they're hyping up Bijan. He better be like the next Derrick Henry as a rookie.
I told y'all in the draft live. He's going to be incredible, but year one probably not.
The expectations for his year one is insane. Yeah.
All right, everybody, fantastic points all around. I think everybody made great points, and now it is time. It is that time of day. Where the heck is the? I'm looking for my video clip that I have, and I can't find it. Oh no, where did it go? Well, here's the thing. So every time we do this, I always give out a penny for your thoughts as the winner who wins the championship for your thoughts. And I had my thought of who I was going to give it to because he actually showed up today. So I was going to give it to Isaac, but I must have forgot to download Isaac's clip that has his penny in it. So he can't win. That's a shame. Brad, since you picked the Giants as the best offseason in the NFC East, I don't know if I can pick you either because they had the 3rd best in the NFC East.
Shut up.
Just kidding. Alana, you've already won too many times. I can't give it to you again. Harris, since you were so stuck to F1 and I picked on you so much, the only reason you're winning is because I made fun of you. Harris gets a penny for his thoughts. We didn't do the commercial. Let's do the commercial here real quick. And if you guys want to talk about it, you're more than welcome to in a second. Play-by-Play Camps is coming back for 2023 summer. We are heading down to Dallas on Sunday. It's crazy. Then South Florida visit Isaac Edelman. Then we'll be heading up back home to Philadelphia, Baltimore, Connecticut. Or Connecticut we're not doing. Sorry, that's just still in the graphic. Denver, we have a virtual camp online and as well as a 3-day workshop during July 4th week. Chicago, North Jersey, Atlanta, Boston, D.C., Seattle, L.A., and then Green Lane outside of Philadelphia. All fantastic options if you have any child that's between the ages of 10 and 17 or 10 and 18. Go to playbyplaycamps.com to learn more and follow us on all our social medias at playbyplaycamps. Fantastic, guys. Anybody want to talk about their camp experience real quick and getting excited for camp season?
Yeah. The play-by-play sports broadcasting camp, the best camp for the summer. Everyone coming has the same interest as you, sports. And like Zeke said on the live yesterday, or the day before, I forget, but everyone you meet is basically a different version of you because you're all coming for the exact same reason. You have an interest in sports. Friendships will click just like that. I'm telling you, best experience, go to it immediately.
All right, Isaac, you weren't able to jump on the live yesterday. You've come since you were like 3 years old, even though we only let 10-year-olds come. Somehow you've been there since you were 3. How do you feel about play-by-play camps, bud?
It's just a terrific camp. There's a reason I've been coming for 8+ years. I say 8+. Every year heading into camp, I need to recount when I started because I can never remember how many years. But no, it's just an incredible camp. Even if you don't like public speaking, even if you don't want to be a broadcaster, go to the camp. You meet amazing people. You get good experience. You meet cool friends because they love sports. You can argue with them. And then you get pictures with amazing athletes because play-by-play camps gets some amazing guest speakers, both people in the industry and some athletes to interview. It's really cool.
Awesome. Harris, you have been Atlanta local. How are you excited about you're going to first overnight camp experience? Are you excited about that this year?
Yeah, well, I've been doing Atlanta day camp. This will be my 6th year doing play-by-play. Well, I did like a couple years virtually because of COVID, but this will be my 3rd or 4th year in Atlanta. 4th year in Atlanta, I'm pretty sure, and it's my first time doing overnight. I've never done overnight, but I met a good friend group last year in Atlanta, and so we're all going overnight this year. I got a friend from Indianapolis coming in as well, and this, as Isaac said, or Brad, whoever said it, everyone's coming for the same reason. Everyone loves sports. Everyone, you're on a college campus. It's like you're like going to college, but you're studying sports for a week. So it is a very fun camp. You should come out to the hot Atlanta, and down here south. So yeah, it's a great camp.
All right, Alana, I know you're about to come to your first in-person camp. You've done a virtual stuff. Real quick, and then we'll sign off.
Yeah, I'm super excited. As you just mentioned, I've done a bunch of the virtual programs, so this will be my first summer in person with play-by-play, and I'm just so excited. The online camp was so much fun. I had a blast when I did it, so I'm looking forward to everything that in-person camp has to offer, and I think it's going to be even better than online.
Awesome. Real quick, and then I want to thank you guys. LG8 Sports had Isaac on my podcast. LG8 Sports, what were you thinking having Isaac on your podcast of all people? What a mistake. All right, and your podcast is Rob Rose Sports Facts. I hope I said that right. If not, I'm sorry, but yeah, check that out as well. All right, guys. So thank you so much for all 4 of you have been on here a few times. Isaac has tried to be on here more than he's actually been on here. But I really appreciate you guys kind of starting this YouTube channel off with me. It's going to just grow and boom. I know this summer we're not going to be able to do as much, but we're going to do some fun things. We're going to have some live rug burn ball, live wiffle ball, maybe some podcasts going on live at camp. So to stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, all that kind of stuff. We're going to have some awesome stuff. And then next off season, when I say off season, I mean school year, we're going to do amazing things. I can't wait. Thank you, all 4 of you, because you guys have been great coming on as much as you have, especially Harris and Alana. I feel like I see you guys on a weekly basis. And Brad, thank you for all you've done. And Isaac, maybe we'll get your schedule down better next year. All right, guys. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Take care.
See ya.
The Play-by-Play Student Sports Network. The best students of sports.